Hey everyone, I'm Brandi, and today we get to learn how to make a fun card. It is actually a magic card. I'm so excited. Ready to check out the magic? So the stamp set that I've used here is our fresh fruit set, and you can see each one of the images has a nice kind of outline piece and then the background piece. And I've used the background pieces to make my background there. And now I'll grab the outline, here's the one for the peach, and use that on the stays on layer. This set works great for the magic card, and any stamp set that has these two layers to it would work well. So the first thing I want to do is get stays on ink on here, just my jet black. And you want to get really good coverage, and then it's so important to hold this steady while you stamp. One tip might be if you want to hold it in place, you can use a bit of washi tape so that the window sheet won't move at all. Press down and then lift straight back up. That'll give you your outline. Let's go ahead and move to my little leaf part here too so you can see how that works. Just place that right over so it lines up with the one I stamped underneath. And then you can just keep going. Each one of these images has different little outline pieces to it. Let's skip forward. I've already finished a layer here. See that? It's got all my stamping. I did it while it was laying right over the top, so you can see this lines up really well. Now, for my magic card, I'm going to want these two layers actually attached together at the top. So you can get creative with this. What I did is use a little tag punch-out piece. This was from a framelit. Fold it over the top, and then I also tied it up with a little bit of our linen thread. So here's how that piece looks when it's all done. So I've got both those layers and they're tied together and ready to go. Now it's time to put together our card base. So to make my card base, I'm going to start out with a piece of paper that is from a 12 by 12 pack. So it's 12 inches this way. And then I've cut the height to be 5.5 because that's how tall I want my finished card to be. It's 5.5 inches tall. So adjust that for however tall you want your finished card to be. And then I want you to kind of look at, this will be the front of your card and the sides are going to be folded back. So just eyeball it and start right about here and give it a score line to start with. So I've got our Stampin' trimmer. And I don't need a measurement here, I'm just going, I know that this will be the front, so I'll just score it right about here. So our lighter blade is the scoring blade, and there's my first scored line. Now it gets important to measure. I'm going to flip it around, and from this scored line, I'm going to measure across 4 1/4. And the reason I did 4 1/4 is because that's how wide I want this card to be. So however wide you want your finished card to be, that's how far you'll measure over right now. So I'll put it right here and score again. Okay, so you can see how this is starting to come together. But I want to create just a little bit of depth right here on both sides. So I'm just going to shift this over just a tiny bit. In my trimmer, I can see a natural line right next to the cutting line, and I'll just score it right there. It ends up being right about 1/8 of an inch. And just right next to on the outside of the first line that I had already scored. Okay, so my paper now looks like this. Here are my original score lines that gives me the 4 1/4 across, and then just a tiny bit of depth too on the sides there because of my little 1/8 inch mark there. Okay. The next thing that you'll do is go ahead and adhere some designer paper to the front. Let's peek back at our finished card for a minute and see we've got a window here that is framed with designer paper. So I'm going to go ahead and adhere designer paper here, and then we will cut our window. I've already pre-cut my designer paper piece to the size of my card front, and I'll just use our fast fuse to stick this on the front. Now because I know I am doing a window, I'm going to keep my adhesive just to the edge here. Okay, and it's pretty simple to just get that adhered right across the front there, just like this. Okay, so let's go ahead and get our window frame cut. Now I wanted to give about a 1/2 inch frame all the way around, so our trimmer is perfect for that. I'm just going to line this up at the 1/2 inch mark, and I can tell that I'm at the 1/2 inch. I can see it right down here and right up here. So I'll line it up on both. But then the other thing I need to do is use this little pointer. See that point right on the edge of my trimmer here? It's right there. And I'm going to start a 1/2 inch down. Okay, so I know that my card is 5.5 tall, so I'll point it to the 5. And I'm going to go ahead and close up my trimmer and let the blade sink in a 1/2 inch from the top. Cut it all the way down, and then I'm going to stop when I get to that 1/2 inch mark right here. So what I've just done is make the first line of my cut here. Now I'm going to flip it around and cut the other side. Exact same thing that I just did. Right on the 1/2 inch, point it at the 5, pull it down until I get to the 1/2 inch at the bottom. Okay, and so now I've got 2 cuts. So I've cut my 2 lines here on the outside, and now I'm ready to do this one on the inside. So I'm going to rotate it this way, and I've got my same cutting marks or measurements on the inside here. So I'll come right to the 1/2 inch inward. And the nice thing about that is now I can just point my trimmer right to the cut line that I already did, so I don't have to measure now, and just pull it until I see that my little pointer is getting right to the other cut line. And now same thing on the other side. We'll flip it around, bring this inside edge to the measurement I want, 1/2 inch right there. And now just let your blade point to the cut mark and drag it down until you get to the bottom cut mark. Okay. Now what I've been able to do here is save my beautiful piece of this Fruit Stand Designer Series paper. This coordinates with the stamp set that I showed you as well, so I want to save that for a different project. And I'll just press this right out all the way through here. Since I was cutting through 2 layers, you do a little bit of work to help get that. Okay, so here is how my paper looks now. I've got my window, and the card is about ready to close up in the back. But before I do that, I want to add one little layer in between here, and this is what will create the magic. This is our hidden layer that goes right inside the card. So it's going to go right here, but I want to mount it up on dimensionals to give it a little bit of space. And I want to actually use little half dimensionals. So this gives you a fun way to use up your edges. Here. Okay, so I'm going to peel my little dimensionals, and I'm going to put them pretty close to the outer edge because I want plenty of room for my card to be able to go up and down. And I'll just put one here and there. Now to do this, you can also use our foam adhesive strips. Keep in mind they're a little bit taller, and so it'll make the whole card thicker, which might be the perfect thing depending on what your magic card looks like. Okay, so let's peel these little guys. And go ahead and add my layer. Alright, and I want a little space on the other side as well, so I'll just add a couple more dimensional halves. And I purposely put these in different spots because I don't want that extra width that the double dimensional would create. Okay, so I've gone all the way around the edge here. And you've noticed what I did is actually just 3 sides. I did top, bottom, and sides on both because this is where my card piece is going to slide in and out, so I don't want that part sealed up. The next thing I'll do is just put a little fast fuse on one side and close up this card. Okay, here's what it's going to look like now. So we've got our frame in the front and we've got it sealed up in the back. Plus, we have this little layer right inside of here, and that is what's going to help us create the magic. So let's bring this piece in that we assembled at the beginning. Now it's important that these two layers are stacked on top of each other, but they are loose. So I just attached them only at the top here with this little tab, because what's going to happen is you'll thread it in here with the stamped piece behind and the stays on piece in front, and it'll go all the way down like that. My finished one has a little bit of extra embellishment too, so let's switch to that one. I just used some glimmer paper, stamps from the set, and some more of the Coordinating Designer Series paper. And that is my finished magic card. You feel like a magician when you show this thing off. Voila! I hope you've enjoyed learning how to make the magic card today. And if you do still want to learn how to do the fun watercoloring layer that I used on this card, you can check out my watercolor tutorial video here. And to order all the products that I showed you today, check out stampinup.com or contact your demonstrator. Hey friends, you know what you should do? You should totally subscribe to the Stampin' Up channel. It's a lot of fun. You get to learn stamping stuff. I think it's right in here somewhere.